Hello and welcome to round 11 of the RS1 series on PlayStation. My name is Plevs. I'm your usual commentator for this series. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're well. We'll get straight to it, a little bit late getting started. We'll have a quick look at our track map. The beautiful Mexico City circuit here, 3.4 kilometers or 2.6 miles long, 17 turns. Two DRS zones, and of course that long straight long run down to turn one. So front row start here actually not the best in terms of where you want to start the race. We'll have a quick look at our previous round results there. You can see VSR Duncan getting his second win of the season at the USA Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. WSO Ferreira in P2, and VSR Domi still managed to get a podium, but had a very tricky race. That is still a podium for him, and he's been on the podium every race since round one. So very impressive consistency from the Haas driver and our championship leader. We'll go straight to the drivers now. Stuff up here. Lap data, so we're on board with Ferreira on his hot lap. A few laps on the board already, 9 minutes left to go in qualifying. So Duncan with provisional pole at the moment at 1 minute 12.9, which is very quick and a bit of a lag spike there for us on board the Renault, and Ferreira actually invalidates that one, unfortunately. So interesting. Domi, that's not really representative time, 1:19. And 4 other drivers yet to set a time. Unfortunately, I only have 10. Not quite sure where everyone is. We have a ton of drivers in this series, so yeah, it's a little bit disappointing to say the least that for our top tier, just not getting the drivers on the grid. See, we've got a few drivers on outlaps, so we've got Duncan, Just, and LRB on outlaps at the moment. Lars might actually be on a lap though. He is coming around the final corner. Hugs a nice tight line, goes P4, 13.1, not a bad time. Low 13 is very competitive, and once you're in the 12s, you are quite rapid indeed. So nice lap there from the McLaren. Who is going to be first to start their lap here? Might be Duncan. Yeah, so we might ride on board with our provisional pole sitter. 7.5 minutes left. Here we go. What a lap around the Mexico City circuit is like. We're on board with our previous round winner VSR Duncan down into turn one, brakes just after 100 metre board, about 75 metres I think. Oh, takes all the curb there, pinpoint accuracy through the first sector there, up to the first sector split. Let's see, his time is so yeah, he's up on his time, or down on his time rather, which is faster. So he's got a 10th faster there in first sector. Now into the tight, twisty second sector. Beautiful line through there. The car just glided through each of those corners, and he's 2/10 up now. So this is a really impressive lap from Duncan. Through the stadium sector 3, short shift to third. Around the final corner. Double short shift. Out of the final corner. As tight as you can go, and he improves by that 2/10. 12.5, insane pace there from Duncan. Just has meanwhile done a 12.6 behind him, so he improved as well. Cohen has invalidated his lap. Lars in the pits. Ferreira starting a lap, so let's go with him. Doesn't abuse the curbs as much as Duncan, when that's invalidated, unfortunately. On the exit of 3. And that's kind of what it does there. You really need to attack the curbs through the first couple of corners, even though it's quite high risk in invalidating. If you don't do it, you lose so much time there. And you can run wide if you're too cautious through the apex, as Ferreira just did, but he's pushing on. Like he's still going to finish this lap. A little short shift there, it's interesting. Usually set up your car to make sure you can take those S section flat in qualifying. Yeah, he'll be diving into the pits, I'd imagine, the Renault. And in he goes. So LRB, what can he do? Coming around the final corner. And he's in the pits as well. Crichton is invalidated his lap, so Domi is on an out lap. Let's ride with our championship leader. He's actually gone for mediums, I just noticed. Yeah. Did not pick up on that until he started throwing the car into the first sector. So he's gone the balance setup. So that means he's got a set of mediums in his qualifying tyres instead of the 4 sets of softs, which you would get if you choose the softer option. Which is usually the norm around here, because you either do a 1-stop with a softer hard, or 2-stop with 2 sets of softs and a medium, and you get the medium in the race set anyway, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of time Domi can do on the mediums. And whether he actually goes again for a second push lap at 6th place with a 14.3. So not too bad from him. Alright, is anyone else on there? Everyone else on the lap. We've got a couple of RS2 drivers in here. Leo is a weirdo, and Rage, who's in the pits. Ecos Rage. Yeah, Leo's keen to have a go. RS1 test himself out. Domi on another lap? No, he's not. So Leo, we'll see what he can do on the mediums. Ooh, this big slide through the final corners. He tries to get the traction down, get a good run down the straight. Crichton's retired. He's actually not going to set a lap. So it'll be interesting to see what strategy some of these guys go onto as well. Domi's retired. He's going to start on the medium tyre. I think that's probably a wise choice. Yellow flag. Ooh, and Leo's backed out of it. Rage out there on mediums as well. We've only got a minute left in this session, so I think just Duncan, Cohen, Lars and Ferreira, the top 5 in the session, and Ferreira's actually on mediums. I'm not sure he's going to improve on a 14.0 on mediums. Domi's best was a 14.3, but Lars and Cohen invalidated in their laps, but Juice is the first one. Let's go right on board with the Red Bull. See if he can beat VSR Duncan and snatch pole position. He's got to find a 10th of a second, and of course not invalidate as well. Down to turn 1, brakes very late, nearly at 50 meters there. Second gear through turn 2. Up to his second spec split is just down, so not too bad. Track should ramp up. He should still be able to find another, that 10th he needs if he pushes hard the rest of the lap. Oh, he's definitely butchered that section. We'll go straight to Duncan. Duncan's invalidated as well, so the top 2 won't be improving. Cohen has invalidated as well, so Lars is the only one here. Still on a valid lap. And he's down 2/10, so no one looks like they're going to be challenging that front row. I'll have a quick look at Ferreira, and he's not on a push lap either. What's LRB up to? I think he might be the one. Oh, no, he's not. He's not going to improve. He's going to... I think that's going to be it. So no one ended up being on a lap except Lars, but he was down. Let's see what he comes across. He needs to find 2/10 to overtake Cohen, and he was 2/10 down at the first sector split. What's he going to do? And he's a 10th down on his own time, so does not move up, and that's going to be qualifying. So there goes your Mexican Grand Prix short qualifying results. The top 5 all on soft tyres, and a couple of blistering lap times there from VSR Duncan and VSR Just. 12.5 and 12.6, only a 10th between them at the top. That is mightily fast. Cohen with a great lap as well, 12.9. Lars at 13.1 and Ferreira 14.0, which he'd probably be a bit disappointed with, given that that's on the soft tyre and not the mediums, which is probably why he was on the mediums and that end of qualifying there to see if he could beat that time. But Leo actually beat Domi's time, I just noticed, so great lap there from Leo. Yeah, interesting. Alright, while the drivers are selecting their strategy for the race, looks like a dry session as well for the Grand Prix. We'll have a look at our championship standings. So there's your driver standings up there. As you can see, Domi is still with a huge lead. It's nearly 100 points. It's 91 points at the moment. Back to Ferreira. So both those drivers on the grid. Dario, unfortunately, not on the grid, running in P3. Crichton might be able to overtake Dario and take that P3 spot. In fact, he almost definitely will if he even finishes the race, because that's only 3 points. And then we got Duncan, who has been on a bit of a roll lately, winning quite a few races. I believe he won a race in the PS4 Challengers Series recently as well. So he's on a tear and won last time out in the United States. So he's moving up the grid very quickly. So he could actually take P3 as well. We'll move on quickly to our constructor standings. There you go. So Haas, only with the one car today, 249 points from Alfa Romeo, also with only the one car. Renault with the one car as well. Red Bull, 2 cars, but one of those is a fill-in driver, so not going to score additional points. So, yeah, like I said, a bit disappointing with some of the drivers missing, but hopefully we get them back. But go to our back to the drivers on their formation lap now. So top 5 will be on soft tyres. They need that. Tyres, there we go. So Duncan, Jules, Cohen, Lars and Pereira all on the soft tyre, the top 5. And then we have Leo and Domi on the mediums. And they qualified crucially on the mediums. So those are worn, they're a used set. Whereas the next 3, LRB, Rage and Crichton, they're all going to be fresh mediums, I believe. So yeah, they're going to look to do the reverse strategy, medium soft, which is, I believe, is the quickest strategy around Mexico. Yeah, Duncan warming up his tyres before the AI takes over. Had it in a half spin nearly. So yes, while the smaller grid, half grid here is a little bit disappointing, we'll chase up some drivers to make sure they're back on the grid next week. It's not unusual to actually have a smaller grid after a break week, so a lot of drivers want break weeks to have, you know, a little bit of a well, a break and a break from the game and come back fresh from it. But the downside to that is that sometimes we lose some drivers. But here we are on the grid for Mexico. There's 5 red lights. And they are held a very long time. But it's lights out and away we go. Duncan gets a great start. Just tucks in behind very quickly to try and get slipstream. Hopefully we'll get a better camera angle in a moment. And it's just going to send it down the inside. No, he's cut off there. All clean through there, I believe. All the drivers file in nicely. No one with damage, and Rage, I think, is at the back, just happy to be involved. But Duncan leads them through from Just, and then we've got Cohen, Lars, and Ferreira. So no one making up spots there. In fact, when Domi and Leo are side by side, let's ride on board with... as Domi gets that move done, Leo runs a little bit deep there. And that allows Crichton to try and get the move done. And hopefully that's not contact. And oh dear. It's going to be a 10-second penalty for Crichton, unfortunately. Oh, it's not. So luckily, but he didn't gain too much time there. But his filling teammate, Leo, wasn't not very kind to him. And Crichton's lost a heap of... lost 2 positions to LRB and Rage. We'll go back to the front. Even though we only got 10 drivers, these are, probably 8 of the fastest drivers on PS4. We have our regular RS1 drivers, so it should be some fantastic racing here at Mexico. I think that was Cohen and Lars running wide there. So penalties, of course, at Mexico, always a huge factor. Oh, I'll get rid of that menu. I do apologise for leaving it there. It looks like all the drivers crucially have got through clean, and Domi, it's important if you're going to start on the mediums to try and stick with the soft runners in DRS, and Domi hasn't been able to do that, maybe with some battling on lap 1 with Leo, but I suspect he will close the gap very quickly. He already has, yeah. So Crichton through on Rage already, so LRB's his next target. As you predicted, pit stop strategies, soft, medium. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if what the top 5 do, whether they go, oh no, and Crichton's got damage already. What's he doing? He's going hard. Oh, so he needs a new front wing. So it looks like there was a collision between Rage and Crichton, which is going to hinder both their races, unfortunately. front. Duncan, Just, Cohen and Lars all in DRS train. Pereira just outside. He'll need to use everything he's got to close in to make sure he gets DRS. You don't want to lose DRS here, especially in a train of drivers all on the same strategy as you. Has he done it? I think he's just missed out on DRS. He's going to have to use everything. Let's get his telemetry up. Yeah, you can see that he's using all the energy, or a lot of energy there, right up to 8th gear to try and close that gap down. It's just widening because the other guys have DRS. So that's going to really hurt Pereira, who has Domi just outside DRS range of him as well. So as Leo picks up the first 3-second time penalty of the race on lap 4. Really looking forward to this battle at Cohen now, actually outside DRS zone of the front two. So the front two really, really rapid. Lars sticking with the racing point. Pereira's dropped further back. And Domi's there or thereabouts. I'm not sure if he's going to have DRS. He is going to have DRS, so he's definitely going to catch Pereira here. And Lars flies past Cohen as well, so that's an overtake for P3. This battle between Duncan and Juice is going to be so juicy. I want to see if Juice hasn't really gone for an overtake yet though, despite being right there on the back of Duncan. As Cohen picks up his first penalty. Hopefully he's only one. I did say first, but I'm sure he'll be able to keep it clean for the rest of the race. So 7/10, and Lars has actually got back in DRS of the front three, and he's dragged Cohen along with him. And Lars, there you go, fastest lap. So that was an absolute stormer from Lars. He did have DRS on that overtake move, and I was going to see if Juice was close enough to have a look on Duncan, but it didn't look like it. Juice using almost no battery at all, 90%. Just a flick of overtake there you saw on the telemetry. He's content just to sit behind Duncan for now. These guys are so smart because they realise that battling tooth and nail for position is actually slow, and they've got drivers like, well, Domi especially behind them on medium tyres that they're racing essentially on a reverse strategy, so they need to not lose time by battling the guys on the same strategy as them, because then they lose time to guys on the alternate strategy. So you really have to drive very smart in some races. Let's see if just how close he actually does get. See, he's not using any overtake whatsoever, just using the DRS to tow him along. Duncan, he's not even in the slipstream actually, he's pulled out. He doesn't want to catch him. So yeah, very interesting strategy there. As Rage picks up a 3-second time penalty, and not sure what is crying in AI. I believe he is. So Lars has managed to stick in the DRS of the front two. Cohen, not so much. Oh, he's very close actually. But Ferreira's really dropped out. Actually, I expect Domi to be able to make an overtake on this lap. Is he going to go for it? No, he's a little bit too far back, so the soft still... Oh, and there we go! There was a move there. It's so typical though, I would miss the pass for the lead, but so Juice has passed Duncan now and has DRS, so he'll be using... Still has a ton of battery. I thought he might be using some there to try and get a gap on Duncan, but... not the case, and Lars is right there as well. So it looks like the battle for the lead is between these three, although I wouldn't rule out Domi being in this one. Just is the first one to pit, lap 8. Very interesting. Now, crucially, what tyres is going on? And Lars is in the pit as well, as is Cohen. So medium tyres for Juice. So that means a 2-stop. I wonder if, yeah, they've all gone medium, so no one's gone the 1-stop onto the hards. So Duncan's got a push now. He doesn't want to get, he's probably going to get undercut a little bit. And I think Lars might actually jump in for position here. So he might actually have to use some of his battery here, Duncan, to try and minimize the damage of the undercut. Unless he's going to do something else, he could still go the 1-stop and take these soft tyres a little bit further and go onto the hard tyre. It's still a viable strategy. So yeah, very, very interesting. Let's see if he dives in. He is going into the pits. Lars a 3-second time penalty. Ooh, so Lars might, and Cohen another one. And so Lars might, and Ferreira's in as well. So Domi inherits the race lead because he'll be the first medium runner. We'll see where Duncan comes out. So I reckon Lars. Watch the mini-map here on the right. And Duncan's held position. Ooh, just. But Cohen's jumped Ferreira. Oh no, he's already ahead. My apologies. So Ferreira was the last of the soft runner. So there's the 5 that were on softs, all on mediums now. So they're all going to do the soft, medium, soft strategy. But Lars all over the back of Duncan. That 3-second penalty though. That's definitely not going to help him. There's Crichton's AI car here. I think his race was somewhat ruined by Rage, which is disappointing that a filming driver kind of got in the way of some of the full-time guys. But yeah, it's better to have more drivers on the grid if we can. So just as somehow, there we go, that's the power of the undercut as well. Sorry for not noticing that earlier, but 1.8 seconds is the gap between Just and Duncan. So Just got a pretty handy undercut by going that one lap earlier than Duncan. And that means he's out of DRS, and there's a Red Bull stationary, and it's not Just, so Just is only 1.8 seconds behind Lars actually, so, oh sorry, LRB. Duncan with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 16.7. So he's pushing, and he's closing that gap to Just as well, 1.3 seconds now. And Just, I imagine, will start to get held up if he hasn't cleared LRB here, so I don't think he's going to be quite close enough on this straight. He doesn't even have DRS yet, so he will get held up, Just get held up by LRB for the rest of his lap, and I reckon Duncan will easily be in his DRS come the pit straight, and Lars is right there as well, but of course with that penalty, Cohen and Ferreira further back, so they're kind of just racing on their own at the moment, unfortunately. Quite impressed with Leo sticking with Domi though, 4 seconds. Not quite sticking with him, but 4 seconds is not a huge margin by any means. So quite impressive. Leo must enjoy this track. But we'll move back to this battlers. There we go. Just past LRB. Lars with the fastest lap now, so Lars really pushing, and is Duncan going to go past LRB as well? Looks like he will. Down the inside of turn 1, LRB leaves him the space. The Lars is going to go around the outside, so all three of them there. LRB was quite kind, in all honesty, to especially Duncan and Lars, not to get in the way, and that's kind of like what you like to see, to be honest. Allow for some good racing. Yeah, there's a difference between the fresher medium tyres and the 12-lap old mediums. Lars actually should be in the pits this lap. Ooh, maybe next lap. But he's starting to struggle there. You can see once that was, there you go, there's his pit window open, lap 14. But yeah, you can see the difference in lap time there, 2 seconds nearly. So Duncan has clawed his way back on to the back of Just, who picks up a 3-second time penalty. Oh dear. So Just has already lost one race this season from time penalty. Let's hope it's not the case this time around. There's another yellow flag, and that is Rage once again. Hopefully he doesn't bring out a safety car. No, keeps going. Good. So Domi, Leo, and LRB should all be in the lap, in the pits this lap. We'll have a look. Domi jumps in. Is he going to dive in? No, he's going to keep going. So he's extending this first stint is Domi. And Rage is in the pit actually, so he's going for softs. LRB a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so he did LRB, but 5 seconds is going to hurt him. And Juice has got around Leo. Let's see if Duncan can clear Leo as well. He's going to have DRS and Leo is not. And Duncan wants that inside line. For the next corner, Lars is probably the one to right on board with here. Nice switchback move there. How lovely was that to watch on board. Great racecraft there from Lars. And crucially, doesn't lose any time to the 2 cars ahead of him. Really good racing. Nice of Leo as well. I don't think he was too... I don't think he quite made it super easy for those guys. But again, that's just the difference between the tyres they're on at the moment. And Leo certainly will be in the pits this time around, you would imagine. And Dommy's in the pits as well. So he extended that 1 lap, and as did Leo. Goes on to the soft side. I said he'll be doing medium soft. As will Dommy, our championship leader, who exits the pits now. And where does he come out? So Dommy's problem with this strategy is not going to have DRS. He's not going to be in the train. He will catch up to the guys ahead fairly quickly, but he's not going to have the DRS advantage that some of the other guys will, and be able to save that battery. He'll actually need to push quite hard to catch and overtake these guys now, because this effectively this second stint, even though the guys are on different tyres, the next stop they'll all be going on to softs. So this is the crucial stint to get track position. Because everyone will be on the same tyre, the soft tyre for the third stint. And he's already set a purple middle sector, has Dommy, and closing up very rapidly. He's on the back of Rage. Rage has the fastest lap, but I dare say Dommy will smash that this time around. So Duncan in the box seat, you would have to say, no penalties, whereas Juss and Kramer, Lars Kramer both have penalties. Cohen has 6 seconds as well. Ferreira still clean, Dommy still clean. Crichton not in it. Right on board with Dommy in there. Look at his pinpoint accuracy. Gets DRS as well, and Ray just unlapping himself on Ferreira there. A little bit naughty. So goes it sometimes, I guess. Ferreira, he actually won't be too upset about that, because he's going to get the DRS off the lapped car down the straight, but I think Dommy's going to have too much for him using his overtake there. And he'll actually want to get past the Red Bull Ghost car as well. Who pulls out of it wisely. I dare say this is going to be the fastest lap coming up. So we're right on board with the Haas for this one. Unless there's an overtake somewhere else. Big lock up though. Uses every inch of the track there. Keeping in 6th gear through this is very interesting. Cohen picks up a 3rd penalty. So, and Cohen's out. Cohen's going to be Dommy's next target. Only 2 seconds up the road. 1.9 now. Rapidly dropping. And this will be for position, but Cohen with 9 seconds. Is this going to be fastest lap? It is a 15.6 from the Huss, and that's going to have alarm bells ringing for the top 4 because Tommy is on a charge. He'll have the tyre advantage this stint, but as I said, when they get to the last stint, everything's going to be equal. They're all going to be on the soft, so this is the stint where Domi has to make the difference. He has to make up the time and overtake cars. I expect him to get Cohen relatively easily. He's already dropped in under a second. He's going to be in the DRS of the racing points. Duncan picks up a 3-second time penalty. That changes everything. So that is the top 4 now with all penalties. So 3 seconds for Just and Duncan. Just now leads the Grand Prix. And Lars with 6. I didn't realise he had 6. But and Cohen with 9. Domi and Ferreira are clean. But Ferreira, he's on the medium tyre at the moment, so he's not going to be able to make up that. But that's huge, that penalty for Duncan, as Domi is going to make this overtake here on Cohen relatively easily, as I suspected. Up into P4 now goes our championship leader. So 10.6 seconds the gap to Lars in P3, but Lars with that 6-second penalty of penalties. So really the gap's only 4.5 seconds. It's going to be a really real challenge for the top 2. I think Lars is out of it for the win and probably the podium as well. But it's going to be a challenge for the top 2 to keep the 3-second gap to Domi. We're in for a bit of a nail biter. I'm quite enjoying this. This is good entertainment because we've got drivers on different strategies. We've got penalties involved. So you can see there, Duncan not interested at all in passing Just. Out there on his own, he's just doesn't want to. Which is quite interesting because if they could tow each other along in the DRS, they would have that advantage over Domi. Domi wouldn't have that DRS, so they could easily trade positions every lap if these two wanted to, but seemingly trying to work together. I don't think I've ever seen Domi get a penalty though. Maybe one. I can't remember where it was. But yeah, he's usually super silky smooth and clean. This is a beautiful camera angle we're going to get here through the S's. Riding over the curbs. It's a bit of an odd engine noise though, if I'm honest. Into the stadium section. You can see where the track used to go straight there around the back of the stadium, so when this didn't exist, and cut into the last corner back in the 80s and 90s, and it just comes straight through onto this big straight. That stadium section adds, I think it's a good addition to the track. It would be a super short track if it didn't have that now, and the lap time would be, well, it'd be probably under a minute in this game. Yeah, we are watching Dominic close this gap, 7.5 seconds now, so man on a mission. We've got 14 laps remaining. He needs to catch these guys before the start of the second stint. We'll go back to the front 3 here. It's a pity Lars has that 6 seconds. Oh, and Leo picks up 3 seconds, but it's not doing too badly. considering. Yeah, as I was saying, it's a pity Lars has a 6 seconds. Because he'd be in this fight for the win if he maybe only had one penalty, or of course none is better than any, but the two ahead of him have 3 seconds, and Ferreira, as Cohen's going to make his second pit stop of the race. Onto the medium tyre until the end. So he did soft. Let me have a look. I think he did soft, medium, medium. Yes. Interesting. It's quite easy to do soft, medium, soft, or medium, soft, 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 medium. I'm not sure you need 2 sets of mediums. Anyway. These three still at it. Domi 5.5 seconds behind now, so he's within range of Lars's penalty, and he's got a further 2.5 seconds to go before he's in range of the front two penalty. And we got a... Oh, and Domi picks up a penalty. That changes the race completely. And he's in the pits. So he's going for the mass undercut. Is he going for mediums? No, he's going for another set of softs. That's really early for softs. So, huge. Huge that he got a penalty, because that evens things out between Jules, Duncan and Domi now. And we're going to have a fair fight, let's say, for the win. Surprised that Domi only did 7 laps on that last set. Maybe he had an incident there that we missed, but 7 laps, because he pitted when Leo pitted, I'm quite certain. Really strange. So I'm not sure why he would take his first set of softs only 7 laps. Now he's got to do 12 laps on this next set. That doesn't add up at all, so that's quite strange. We might have to ask him after the race what happened there. And Duncan and Jules are in the pits. Sorry, Jules is in the pits, but not Duncan. And both in and out, and Cohen picks up a 3rd penalty. 4th penalty? I think it's his 4th. So when's Ferreira going to pit? Oh, an LRB. Oh! Domi, 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits? What is that penalty? I've never even heard of such a thing. Is there such a thing? 5 seconds? What is going on here? I need to have a look. So he got 2 warnings on lap 3. A penalty and a warning on lap 23. And then an invalidated lap, which was a 5-second penalty. Exceeding track limits. That is quite extraordinary. I've never seen that. I think there was a bug at Bahrain in F1 2019. The last corner, if you on corner entry ran too wide, you could get an instant 5-second penalty. But I believe they fixed that. And it's Duncan in the pits. Oh, just lagging slightly. I do apologise. Hopefully not too bad on the stream there. Oh, it is dropping frames, unfortunately. I do apologise. There we go, stabilise. Hopefully. It's quite bad. But yeah, as the stream's stabilised now. I do apologise for that, folks. But we'll have a look at penalties quickly, just to keep everyone up to date. So Ferreira's clean. Just is about to overtake him. And there you go, into the stadium section. He goes. Lars around the outside as well. So, oh, when did Duncan get damaged then? Oh, I'm not quite sure, but I think Ferreira was trying to get out of the way, and Duncan looked like he collected the back of him. But Domi with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, so he's right there on the back of Duncan. This is going to heat up for the last stint, for sure. So you got 3 seconds for Jules, 9 seconds for Lars, 3 seconds for Duncan, 8 seconds for Domi, but let's just call that 3 seconds because I'm sure that 5 seconds was going to be something removable because it was an instant 5 second extending the track penalty and he won't have to pit again. So Domi on tyres 2 laps older than Duncan. And 1 lap older than Justin Lars. And of course it's so difficult to overtake when everyone's in a DRS train like this. Domi is gonna have to get punchy with Duncan to try and get around him. And Duncan's got the tyre advantage and the DRS of Lars. And Lars has the DRS of Just, so Just looks like, even though there's 7 laps left, looks like he's in the box seat to win this one at this point in time. Of course things could change. So good, we got a 4-way battle for the win here. Although Lars is unfortunately not in it, but Jules, Duncan and Domi, any of those cars could win at this point in time. Lars not wanting to overtake Just though, interesting. So everyone happy to follow each other for now. Oh, as Lars one's really wide there. That's a bit of a naughty track extend. Big lockups from everyone there as they come through. Second sector. I actually really enjoy driving this track. It's very busy at the wheel. I assume it'd be the same on controller as well. You're very, very busy all the time, except for on the long straight, of course. But the rest of the lap is very, very intense. Good mix of low speed and high speed corners. Really enjoyable to race, personally, I think. And offers up some really good racing to watch, which is what we've seen in this one, despite the small grid. I'm going to see a pass for Leo, I think, on Cohen, Cohen might actually have Duncan 3-second time penalty. Oh dear. So he has 6 seconds for him. Sorry, we'll go to penalties. Oh, there it is, 6 seconds. So it's going to be between Just and Domi now. With a bit of an asterisk there on Domi because for that additional 5 seconds, but that's huge for Duncan. He probably out of contention of winning this one now, unless the other two get more penalties before the end. There's still time, so six laps left. Not sure how many warnings those guys are on, but I don't really like to go into the race director to look. I prefer just to let the drivers go to it as Cohen picks up, I believe, his 5th penalty, which should be 15 seconds. Look at that. Yeah, 15 seconds for Cohen. Stops no tyre. But yeah, huge. So Duncan probably won't be getting a back-to-back wins here in Mexico. Really impressed with Lars here as well. Even despite the penalties, his pace has been really good. P2 on track at the moment. If he can tidy up the penalties, he could get in contention for race wins. He's yet to get a podium, so one step at a time, but yeah, if Duncan picks up another penalty, actually, didn't think of that at first, but if Duncan picks up another penalty, Lars will be on the podium. So Duncan has to be careful. He might not be on the podium here. The gaps, intervals between these guys, no one's really close enough to make an overtake as well. Sorry, we are losing. Cry picks up the penalty. That's odd because I don't think he's actually racing, is he? Or has he come back to get past the lap? Ooh, it was Cohen and Ferreira. Little battle here. So Cohen got, Ferreira got past on Cohen because Ferreira's on the fresher and what's definitely going to be the quicker tyres as Rage and Crichton are both on into the pits to try and maybe get the fastest lap. Four laps left. Start lap 33 of 36 here. Just still leads them from Lars, Duncan and Domi. Lars a bit closer now. See, out of anyone, I would have thought maybe Lars would be the one to try and make an overtake, having an extra penalty compared to those guys around him. But seems content to just try and sit behind Just. Which is really interesting. Not much to report elsewhere, I'm afraid. Cohen's still hanging with Ferreira a little bit. No, this guy's actually pretty even. So, yeah, Cohen wouldn't be too slow. Let's have a look at the penalties there. Cohen with 15, Ferreira with 23, so yeah, not much of a battle. In fact, I believe Cohen will get overtaken by LRB, who only has 3 seconds as well. Again, no overtake this lap. from, oh, in this little four-way battle. Hoping for some more fireworks in the last couple of laps, if I'm honest. Someone's got to try and make a move. Hopefully Dommy tries to get Duncan, although Crichton does get the fastest lap. Just looking at the penalties. So just should win it. He's got the lead, and he's got the least amount of penalties. Here we go. 2 laps to go. No overtakes this lap. Like I said, it's very hard to overtake in DRS training. And Lars runs wide there again, so it's been doing that all race, to be honest. Come through the S's once more. They'll have one final lap after this one. Hope someone goes for it. They've all got so much battery. Just has got 60. Lars got a little bit less. Duncan's got quite a bit. Dommy's actually got 20%. Yeah, he's got the older tyres. That makes sense. So he would probably have to push a bit more. And there you go. He's going to use it all. Is anyone going to have a go here? On the last lap now, Tommy's actually out of ERS, and with the out of 1 second. He's had to take these soft tyres a long way, 11 laps. Not quite sure why he did that. Only 7 laps on the second stint on the softs. Seems like if he kind of evened those 2 stints out, maybe did like 9 laps on each, 9 or 10 on each. Quite a lot better than doing 7 and 12. Yeah, anyway, Juss is going to get his first win in race spec in RS1 as well. Hopefully he holds it all together before the end. No last lap penalties for the Red Bull driver this time. The confetti flies in Mexico, and BSR just crosses the line to take victory, and Duncan P2, Lars P3, but Dommy will probably take that P3 if he gets that 5-second penalty removed, which should be pretty straightforward, I imagine, unless it was for some major violation, which I really don't think it was. A bit of an odd one. But Leo, very commendable P5 on track, but Ferreira jumps him, so Ferreira P5. Still P2 in the championship, I would imagine. Leo P6, Cohen P7. LRB didn't. Oh my goodness, that is very close. LRB and Cohen, 1/10 between 7th and 8th on penalties in the end. And Rage and Crichton will be our final finishers. If we can call them that, to be honest. But yeah, hopefully we get some more drivers back for the last 4 races of the season and finish strong, because yeah, what could be with some more fast drivers? We got some of the fastest drivers on PlayStation here in RS1, but we're just not getting the numbers, unfortunately. These guys still providing such close and fast racing. It's really incredible to watch. Would just be so much better with, 5, 6, 7 more drivers. So hopefully we get that. Yeah, But that has been this one. Congratulations to Jules on his first victory of the season. Well done to him. Duncan P2, solid drive from him. Probably would have had the win without that penalty as well, so must be kicking himself. Lars P3 on track, but I believe Tommy will get that. So the three Dutchmen on the podium, provisionally at least. Domi P4, Ferreira P5, Leo P6, Cohen P7, LRB 8, Rage 9, and Crichton 10. Thank you so much for joining us for this one. Apologies again for the smaller grid and probably a little bit of lack of action as well on track, even though the drivers were really close. No one really going for it there in the closing stages, which was a little bit disappointing, especially the front three. I thought maybe Duncan would have had a crack. But yeah, not to be. We'll see you again next week for round 12, which I believe is... God, I don't know. Hang on. Let me have a look at the calendar really quickly. It has absolutely slipped my mind. Spain! Spanish Grand Prix. So join us for that one. Yeah, and I'll make sure we have a bigger grid for that one. We'll chase up some drivers, maybe get some new ones in as well. So we'll see you then for the Spanish Grand Prix. Until then, I've been your commentator, Plevs, and I will see you next time.